Okay, we are back from 250, baby. Welcome to Frontline. 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and Trump is ringing in a new era of investing today. The president celebrated the launch of Trump accounts with a ceremonial ringing of the New York Stock Exchange opening bell from the Oval Office, calling it another step toward building wealth for America's next generation. The new program gives eligible newborns a $1,000 investment in their account to help jumpstart their financial future. Plus, Cuba in crisis. Another nationwide blackout, leaving nearly 10 million Cubans without power after the country's electrical grid completely collapsed again. Officials say the cause remains under investigation, but comes as the communist nation continues to battle chronic fuel shortages, aging infrastructure, and a deepening energy crisis. But yeah, they're trying communism here in America. And more trouble for Graham Platner just hours after canceling multiple campaign appearances. The deep state and the deep Democrat Senate candidate is facing brand new allegations of sexual assault from a former girlfriend. Now, Ro Khanna and Ruben Gallego, if you can believe it, have dropped their endorsements. That's what it took? Okay, I guess. We're going to have much more on this later in the show. Get your popcorn ready. But first, the most selective outrage I have ever seen from the media in a very long time. Let's do this. Welcome back, folks. We're in the 250. I hope everybody had a happy Independence Day. I know I did. It was full of freedom. There's me riding a dirt bike with a 13 colony flag. Steak, guns, fireworks. Look, all we did was just love this country and just be American. But clearly, some of my counterparts at other networks couldn't just say, America F yeah. They had to make it about some sensational headline, and the most ridiculous version of this was this headline. Chilling photo shows black woman on D.C. train surrounded by white supremacist thugs. It was the headline for this picture. Okay, the media just absolutely ran with it. America 250, 4th of July, most epic fireworks display in the history of ever in D.C., and this is what Dana Bash was trying to get the Secretary of the Interior, who's in charge of all that stuff, to comment on.
Do you, as Interior Secretary, will you recommend to the President that he condemn this group and what they were trying to message, what they did try to message here in Washington?
Well, there have been, Nana, part of my response to that is that there are protests on the mall that people say things that I think are irreprehensible about President Trump, and yet they're allowed to go on because of free speech in our country.
I would recommend condemning. Shut up. Really? I mean, like, she's really reaching for that one. How about you condemn all the left-wing actual violence? How about that? So let's back up. Who are these guys? This is apparently there's some white nationalist group called the Patriot Front or something like that. They came to march around D.C. They look like a bunch of clowns with their masks on and stuff like that. Could they be on the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center payroll? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in 2 to 4 years if Congress ever investigate this. But the train, guys, really? Like a field trip for big boys? Was Mom's minivan like in the shop or something like that? Second, the headline, chilling. No, but I bet chilling is how Irina Zaruska felt after hearing this and while she bled out. Nothing from the media on that one. I mean, like, how do you think all those passengers aboard the subway where Daniel Penny had to choke out that violently threatening criminal saying that he'd kill everyone? By the way, he was known for doing this, and yet no one addressed it, and they left it for Daniel Penny to deal with. Or how do you think just about every woman in just about every major city feels walking at night, taking public transportation after an increase of rapes and people getting pushed onto train tracks? The article was even more ridiculous. Freelance photographer Chenny Orr captured the eerie 250th Independence Day moment that some observers argue is symbolic of the nation's struggles to live up to its I'm sorry. What is eerie here? Was that woman assaulted? No. Was she harassed? Not that we know of. She was just forced to sit next to a bunch of cosplay wannabe tough guys and she just was like staring off into whatever. So was she chilled? I mean, did anyone ask her? Oh, no, of course not, because that would be way too much journalisming. According to the article, the woman hasn't been identified and it's not clear if she interacted with the Patriot Front members during the... Are you kidding me? You read a whole article and you didn't even ask her? So no one bothered to actually ask the woman if she was actually chilled, which she doesn't look that chilled to me. She's... Look, this is America. You have the right to do stuff like this, even if it's stupid stuff. Just like in the case of Black Lives Matter. Until they actually burnt down cities and robbed local businesses and broke stuff and cost communities $2 billion. But that, apparently, even that was mostly peaceful and justified by the legacy media.
It's our First Amendment right to speak up, to protest.
The ironic thing is the reason why there is unrest in our streets is because Black Americans have never had equal protection under the law. That's why they're in the streets.
Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
First, Andrew, it's in the very sentence that you're citing. Peaceably assemble. Maybe I don't read too good. And you, Ayanna Pressley, you are a black woman who was elected to Congress. Please tell me what rights black people are somehow deprived of. Nah, seriously, let's have that conversation because it's literally zero. But I love how all that was just protected by the First Amendment for Black Lives Matter. Even during COVID, when you and we couldn't go to church because that was peaceably assembling, but we couldn't do that. I mean, for Pete's sake, they arrested someone on a paddleboard alone in the ocean because he didn't have the right. But if you're black, you can gather en masse for social justice. Ayanna Pressley, that actually is something that black people were allowed to do that many white people weren't allowed to do. I mean, where is all the media headlines about that? The McCluskeys, who had like 100 or 200 BLM protesters on their property harassing them. Was that not a chilling experience for them? I'm just asking the questions here. Or when hooligans with criminal records chased down Kyle Rittenhouse. Was that not chilling as he retreated as they continued to chase him for like a mile? Austin Metcalf was literally chilled after Carmelo Anthony stabbed him in the heart. Or how about girls forced to compete against men in their sports? That's not chilling at all, right? Or when Don Lemon and other protesters burst into a church to interrupt their mass? No, that wasn't chilling. But the basement dwellers of the Patriot Front who paid a fare, got on the train, didn't harass anyone, didn't break anything, didn't steal anything, didn't hurt anyone. But the fact that a black woman had to sit near them. Look, I'm not defending these fools, okay, of the Patriot Front. I think they're equally as stupid as BLM protests. Far more lawful, but equally as stupid. And I'm not convinced they weren't staged leftists, by the way, either. But in America, you have the right to do this stuff. The left screams about rights for, I don't know, like a bunch of drag queens and mostly naked adult men like twerking in the street for an entire month of June for Pride Month in just about every city. And we're supposed to be tolerant of that. They're out there having sex in a fountain in front of kids. Nope, can't say that. If that chills you, you're actually a bigot. But the one black woman who no one said a single thing to that we know about, she was chilled. They assumed. In fact, I would go one further. You know what's chilling to me? It's this stat. You know how many black women were killed by white nationalists since 2024? Let's just do some numbers here. Zero, none, absolutely none that we can trace to that ideology being the reason. And you know, if there had been one, you would have seen it in wall-to-wall headlines, and the Southern Poverty Law Center wouldn't have had to actually pay for the hoods and burning crosses to keep racism alive. You know how many black women have been killed by black men in the same time frame? It's actually about 1,800 a year, so just shy of 5,000 in the same time frame since 2024. No chilling headline for those victims? So tell me again that most of the media isn't actually the problem in this country, just going around trying to make a problem where a problem doesn't exist. Founder of Surge Philly, who was in D.C. covering these anti-American protests on the 4th, Frank Scales, and former NYPD Chief of Department John Chell. John, you know, you have had to deal with the craziest stuff in New York City. The juxtaposition here is shocking, though.
Well, look, as a citizen and a retired middle-class guy from Staten Island, I am so sick and tired of the hypocrisy from our media. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Let's just put this out there. We universally hate any group that harasses, intimidates, uses race, destroys, and is full of. We condemn all of that. But in New York City, I didn't see this outrage with protests with pro-Palestinian groups or any group or BLM or Antifa when people are getting intimidated. I didn't see this clutch of our pearls situation. And if you really want to end this, federal and local laws, you cannot wear a mask in groups. That'll shut this down immediately, and we won't have to be talking about this nonsense. And if this was my wife on a train, would I be upset? I would be a little concerned, but we don't know what happened because no one spoke to her.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But Frank, you were actually down in D.C., and you were just being a journalist on public property, and you actually saw the more aggressive side of this. Play this real quick.
Get the out of my face! 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 Get the out of my face!
It's public property. If you keep pushing on me, you're going to go to jail.
So you were going to go to jail for her screaming in your face.
Yeah, so this is so typical of the left and of the liberal biased media in this country. We have protesters, Antifa protesters, who actually represent the Democrat Party. You have DSA members and socialists winning across the country. And in New York City, the socialists, the people out here who are getting violent with journalists like myself, are winning elections. And then you look at Patriot Front, this group that was funded by a leftist organization, or allegedly funded by a leftist organization, that does not represent the people who were on the National Mall. I was at the National Mall, and those people were American patriots sporting pro-American shirts and hats. And that was not representative of the crowd in Washington, D.C., but the media is trying to make Patriot Front out to represent everybody who was on the National Mall. It's simply not true.
Yeah. And Chief Chell, too, you brought up the fact that masks, people wear these. It's a crazy amount of leftists saying, oh, they're wearing masks. It's like, dude, these same leftists made me wear a mask for 5 years almost in New York City. Like, can we all come to the agreement, what you just said, maybe nobody should wear them?
Listen, absolutely. And look, most people who wear masks, they're cowards. They want to hide their face as they act a fool. And like I said, local, federal, any group of people, you cannot wear a mask. And if you do, you put them in jail for a couple of days. Cheese sandwiches and warm milk. Guess what, Carl? They won't do it again. Trust me. They lose their jobs. They lose their significant other. And it would be over. These people are garbage across the board. We condemn hate. Have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly. Total trash. But, Frank, the liberals like Sonny Hostin in response to this to say, oh, I'm afraid of the American flag. Roll this.
When I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy.
I bet she would run to that American flag faster than a cheetah if she was being chased by the Taliban, Frank.
Yeah, well, when I'm doing my journalism out at protests, I feel unsafe when I see Palestinian flags because those people actually get violent. Again, Patriot Front, they do not represent the people on the National Mall. They don't represent Republicans or MAGA or President Trump or anyone, but they weren't getting violent on that subway. They didn't break any laws. So, you have these radical right-wingers, supposedly, who weren't breaking laws, but the people carrying Palestinian flags, they are constantly breaking laws in the street. And I totally agree. Let's take the masks off. If you want to get out there and if you want to share your opinion, then you should do it by putting your name and your face and your likeness behind your words and actions.
100%. Frank, Chief Chell, we appreciate it very much.
Take care, guys.
All right, we're kicking off our third annual Voices of Valor series. Every year I host a few fellow vets up at my farm. Trust me, you are not going to want to miss this. We got part one coming up in just a bit, but first, Louisiana's top prosecutor is now the one being prosecuted. Weird, 16 criminal counts, and the governor is already promising a pardon. Our legal panel is going to sound off on that in a sec.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees. That's right, you get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate instantly from this Washington to that one. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergency and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, Rapid Radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios, the best way to stay connected.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
In a strange turn of events, the prosecutor becoming the prosecuted, and now the state's highest court is stepping in. Now, so Republican Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill was hit with a 16-count criminal indictment after a grand jury indicted her on threatening local officials during a heated dispute over changes from an ironically deep blue New Orleans court system. Now, Murrill calling the indictment retaliatory and meritless and unconstitutional, while she has Governor Jeff Landry, Republican, already vowing to pardon her as, quote, fast as the law allows. Now, the Louisiana Supreme Court has temporarily halted this case, citing what it called serious procedural concerns around the indictment. So, is this a criminal case or is it a political one? Newsmax legal host Jay Town and former Assistant Attorney General Theo Wold. Theo, you've been in the Justice Department. You understand that this is like something that happens, but not to this scale, and it doesn't seem very rooted in fact.
No, that's right, Carl. And I'll just say at the top here, Liz, when I was served as Solicitor General of Idaho, Liz Murrill was sort of the queen bee of state solicitors general on the Republican side. She's an incredible lawyer, a very decent human being. So the idea that Liz has committed any kind of criminal conduct in office is not just shocking, it's actually kind of laughable. So I think what you're dealing with here is the increasing move by blue state jurisdictions, blue cities like New York, like New Orleans, like Los Angeles, that are essentially not only ungovernable, but are going to use their immense legal equities and bring those to bear on statewide elected Republicans or Republican federal officials. This is sort of the city-state mentality taking root right now in real time.
But Jay, we've seen this before with Trump, where they tried to push state charges in Georgia to avoid the ability for him to federally pardon himself should he have ever won again, which he did. But that got thrown out too. Like, what's the recourse? Can you just turn around and say, like, hey, you should never brought this to a grand jury and you might have lied about some things?
Yeah, the recourse is going to be the interesting part here, because there are statutes in states like Louisiana where there could be other. I mean, this is a constitutional office, and if you are violating your oath as the district attorney in Orleans Parish, and you're conducting what I think anyone with a functioning limbic system would consider as lawfare against the attorney general, who did nothing more than write letters to people in Orleans Parish saying, hey, if you seat this person as a criminal clerk, then that could be a problem. That could be criminal conduct. Well, under law, that's correct. So now AGs can't write letters to DAs. By the way, she has immunity from writing that letter as the Attorney General in the state of Louisiana. So she doesn't even need a pardon. This whole thing is the macabre, Carl. It is lawfare on steroids, but this is where the left is at. I will use a grand jury to do what I want to do, especially if you take away my criminal clerk, who, by the way, the guy who got elected to be the criminal clerk, he was in prison for a felony for almost 30 years. That's why they eliminated the position with legislation.
Unbelievable. Theo, here's the other thing, too. Totally different topic, but Islam. I'm always warning people that it could take a hold, especially in our legal system. Well, California Governor Gavin Newsom has appointed Haris M. Saeed to the Los Angeles County Superior Court. Now, here's the problem: is we have seen some stuff from guys like this. What happens when you start seeing, I don't know, a Sharia-style viewpoint incorporate itself into U.S. law that is not in favor of our Constitution? At some point, do you have to declare Islam not a religion and a political ideology?
Yeah, great question, Carl. And I think three things I'd say real quick on this topic. Number one, we saw this in Great Britain. The former Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, famously said we should allow Sharia law to be imposed in family court systems and at the trial court level in Great Britain. That was years ago. It's been a complete disaster in England. One of the reasons why the rape gangs were able to do what they did and proliferate like that, because a lot of Islamic judges control the local family courts in that country. Two, I'd say, look, our tradition says no religious tests for judges or public officials. And that's right. But to your point, Carl, what we do insist on is that anyone taking public office, including judges, comply with the Constitution. And that should be the first test for anyone serving in office in our country.
I can't wait to see how this plays out. Jay, Theo, we appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, what better time than America's 250th birthday to have radical Muslims on the streets of New York City declaring an Islamic state? That and Mamdani City next.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
My husband is Miguel Cervantes, who was a firefighter with the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. That's what he absolutely loved. My husband's cancer is directly related to his service as a firefighter. My immediate thought after he was gone was, how am I going to do this? Tunnel to Towers said that it would be their honor to help me out by covering my mortgage. To say that it's been a weight lifted off my shoulder would be an understatement.
At Omaha Steaks, we do burgers differently. We take a premium aged steak like this and turn it into a pure ground burger like this. So this is actually a ribeye. This is a New York strip, top sirloin, beef brisket, and this is a filet mignon. For a limited time, our Burger Perfection flight comes with 20 big, juicy burgers, all for just $79.99. Get it today at omahasteaks.com/TV. This is Burger Perfection, guaranteed.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring, understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
Hi, I'm Sally with sellmypolicy.com, the fast concierge service here to help you sell your life insurance policy for cash now. Our experienced team makes it fast and easy for you to get your offer. Use the money however you want. John sold his policy for $590,000 in cash for health care. And Cheryl sold her policy for $90,000 in cash and used it to supplement her retirement income. If you are over 65 with a life insurance policy of $100,000 of coverage up to $50 million of coverage, then you may qualify. With Sell My Policy, some people choose to sell all or just part of their policy so they can access cash now while also keeping coverage in place for their loved ones. Plus, you'll get paid fast. Trusted by seniors, there's no obligation to sell. Find out what your policy is worth today.
It's fast and free with Sell My Policy.
Talk with a policy expert now to see how much cash you could receive. Call 800-910-2274 or visit sellmypolicy.com.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
As we mark 250 years of America, Wounded Warrior Project honors those who serve. They've given us their commitment and sacrifice. We're here to give them a brighter future. Our programs and services help warriors access VA benefits, improve mental and physical health, and thrive for a lifetime. They've given us their best. Join us in supporting them through the next 250 years of strength and resilience. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/USA250.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
Yeah, I bet it is. Another scandal from obviously a lame apology from Graham Platner. This time, allegations of sexual assault from an ex-girlfriend, Jenny, detailing the incident to Politico. She said that she had an on and off relationship with Platner for more than 2 years before he entered her rural Maine home uninvited one night, late in 2021, deeply intoxicated, forced himself on her while she repeatedly told him to stop. She said, quote, I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful with me. She said, I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, this is no longer my choice. Now, of course, Platner denies all of these allegations. Maybe he was too drunk to remember, but there are reports that he will be dropping out of the race. No confirmations of that yet, but he's reassessing his Senate bid, apparently. In the last few minutes, the Maine Democrat Party is now calling on Platner to actually drop out. So, Maine Wire reporter John Fetherston, who has been all over this from the beginning. I mean, okay, so the masturbating in the Porta-John, the Nazi tattoo, the like wishing a veteran died, and all these other things, those were fine, but this is where they draw the line?
Carl, thanks for having me on. I mean, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts with this guy, you know, and I think President Trump summarized this guy the best. This guy's just a thug. That's really what he has been abusive to women, the Nazi tattoo, the creepy porta potty behavior. You know, I've been following him since day one of his campaign. I am unfortunately not surprised by this. And, you know, the Democrats really have to do some soul searching here. They picked this actor to be their candidate. They did a horrible job vetting this guy. And the Democrats for the last, generation have told us that we have to trust all women. Well, yeah, I agree. We do have to trust all women. When women come forward and tell us these horrible stories, we have to do it. Don't reassess, Graham. You need to drop out because the Democrat Party is asking you to go away. Yeah. And that's a statement.
Yeah, well, drinking in your underwear is always a great sign of, Senate candidate possibilities. Anyway, John, we got to leave it right there. We appreciate it very much, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. All right, more on this. I want to bring in Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Tudor, it's one of these things like, no way. Really? Graham Platner did this? Maybe?
Well, let me explain exactly what happened here. They've been poll testing him. They've been seeing how far they can go with him, how far socialism will actually catch on. He started to go down in the polls, just like Biden, just like Swalwell. Every time they see someone that they don't like how that's affecting their chances of winning, they drop the next piece of oppo. Let's remember that Graham Platner has to choose to drop out by next Monday, or they can't replace him. Right now, they can still replace him on the ballot with the person of their choice. They won't have an election. It'll be just like Biden. They'll put the person on. The Democrats won't get to choose. This was all orchestrated by the Democrat Party. They've known these allegations for a long time. They're doing this so that they choose. You don't choose Democrats.
Yeah, exactly, just like Kamala Harris. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure it was, that's right, it was Elizabeth Warren. Roll this.
And I said to myself, that's my kind of man. Because that is a man who not only has the values, but a man who believes in accountability. And
so presumably, they probably knew about all this Oppo research, and here's Elizabeth Warren towing the party line.
Of course, because they're so desperate for power. They know what even one seat in the Senate means for them, and they're willing to say whatever it takes. I mean, Ro Khanna was like, I don't care what the allegations are against him, unless it's something like a serious sexual assault. I mean, it couldn't have even been the assault that he was already accused of. It had to be a serious sexual assault.
But here's the other thing. I am always suspicious and sketched out by things that are like, why didn't she press charges earlier on? Why is this only coming out when he runs for Senate? I mean, these are questions I have to ask both sides. Why not?
Well, I do think that the timing is obviously suspect, considering the deadline is on Monday, as I said, and then now the Democrats are saying, look, we're going to drop this. Whether or not they convinced her to hold it, I do think that oftentimes when you see someone get into a powerful position, then you feel like, I have to stop this. Something happened to me. I suspect she was told by Democrats, hold the story until the exact right moment. That's how little they actually care about women.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Well, I hope even if he does drop out that she continues to press charges to follow through with this stuff. I think it's ridiculous. Real quick, Muslim movement in New York City. You've experienced this in like Dearborn, Michigan, where one of the many socialist leaders that Ma'am Danny has endorsed, they're talking about a Muslim takeover.
Allahu Akbar! Oh no! This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Welcome to Mamdani's New York.
Yeah, no, not in my house. So my boy Rob O'Neill obviously weighed in and said, these guys sound way different when you wake them up at 2 a.m. I can attest to that.
Yeah, well, this is not religious freedom, just so we're clear that when you hear this, this is not religious freedom. This is a different thing than wanting to be able to pray how you want to pray. This is Islamist. This is definitely a next level. These folks want to take over the country in a very negative way. And if you look at this video and you think that this is someone who says, I want a church to be right next to my house, I can guarantee you your religious liberty is in jeopardy if someone in his position takes over, and Mamdani is allowing this.
Yeah, no, it's really shocking. Well, Tudor Dixon, we appreciate you joining us very much.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, Jasmine Crockett realizes that the Democrat Party is ignoring black voters. Wow! Shocking it took her this long, but still demands every American thank a black woman for the 4th of July. Culture Clash, next.
It's our America. We built it. Courage, freedom. Millions go to Newsmax when they need to know. Start today on the free Newsmax app. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Ever wished you could brew your own beer, but figured it was too complicated, too messy, too much effort? Well, now you can. Meet Pinter, the home beer system everyone's talking about. Fresh beer, brewed and tapped by you. No fuss, no guesswork. Just brew, chill, tap, done. And this summer of soccer, bring matchday home with the limited edition USA Pinter. Keep fresh beer on tap for every big moment. Host the ultimate watch party and bring the stadium atmosphere home all tournament long. Fresh beer on tap for every big match. You don't need a sports bar for the ultimate summer of soccer, just a Pinter. Right now, get your limited edition Pinter free with our flexible beer plan and save $264. Tap into the world's best beer experience. Free Pinter. Freshly brewed beer. Zero fuss. Go to pinter.com/USA to claim your offer today.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
When Conor McGregor fights, you're witnessing something once in a lifetime.
Surprise, surprise, the king is back!
All my life I want money and power.
Oh! Conor McGregor transcended the sport!
Max Holloway!
That's a real warrior! I'm right here! You're in for a treat!
McGregor vs. Holloway, Saturday, July 11th. Free with your subscription, only on Paramount Plus.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support with clinically studied grapeseed extract for nearly 2 times more effective blood pressure support than diet and exercise alone.
Super Beets works. I swear by it, and I know you're going to love it too.
Try Super Beets today at human.com.
Here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report.
From blizzards to downpours to windstorms or heat waves, no matter where you live, Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free year-round. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
It seems like Jasmine Crockett has finally figured out that Democrats actually don't care about black people after she lost her Senate race to a straight white male that may be gay in Texas. Roll this.
What you see is that black people are consistently being ignored, or I feel like that's what I hear. But when we look at the numbers, if there's any group of people that the party should be most loyal to and most vocal about, is black people. Frankly, for black folk, it's just honestly acknowledging our humanity.
Okay. Downside of those sound bites is I actually have to hear her talk. But you didn't realize that after Democrats voted for the straight white liberal over the black Marine veteran in Virginia? Look, I can go back further. Just take a look at what Obama did for, black people during his presidency. It was nothing. And race relations got worse. Black unemployment actually hit a record low under Trump, not under Obama. Funny, this interviewer also spelled Crockett's name wrong in the title of her YouTube. Crockett then went on to say that Americans should actually celebrate the 4th of July by thanking people like her.
So this 4th of July, I say celebrate a black woman that you know, because whether it's an invention that she made or whether it's the very democracy that still hangs by a thread right now, there is a black woman to thank for her contributions.
By far, how far we've come from. Someone needs a lesson from maybe JFK, I don't know.
My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
My, Democrats have changed. Political strategist and CEO of Compass Strategies, Luke Ball, and Daily Caller senior politics reporter Ashley Brasfield. Ashley, I don't really know what to say.
I mean, just pure humility from Jasmine Crockett. Carl, I gotta say, I think I'm gonna miss her a little bit when she's leaving Congress.
She's not going away. She'll be here. She'll be stick around the public eye.
She won't, but for at least in her seat currently. But at the same time, I mean, those sound bites, they're just total sellers for the GOP in so many ways. And it's incredible it's taken her this long to realize that Democrats are prioritizing illegal immigrants over Black Americans, something that the GOP has known for a very long time. And also that's something that, Black Americans seem to figure out in the 2024 election, even after Obama started, mansplaining to them of why they needed to vote for a Black woman. But, I guess that's the pure humility here of thanking a Black woman on the 4th of July.
Yeah. But speaking of that, Luke, and I say you just can't hate the legacy media enough. CNN was just absolutely in awe of a Ben Franklin lookalike contestant winner. Watch this.
Congratulations on your win. Thank you so much for sharing it. Brianna, Laura, you can't beat this. This is Ben Franklin here. I'll toss it back to you.
You can't. I love she said her friends that she cosplays with.
Yes, you better use your Michaels coupons.
That's right.
Making your stuff. Good for you. I love a good creator.
So
are you kidding me?
A Black woman won the Ben Franklin look-alike contest. Keyword look-alike, Luke.
I think what bothered me the most is if you play that clip a little further, one of the anchors admits to cosplaying and LARPing, which I didn't have time to Google before I came on the show, but I really don't want that in my search history, whatever it might be. But it also goes to that first clip that you just played of Jasmine Crockett. I look to Donald Trump and the Republicans, and their 4th of July message is all about unity and we as Americans and the things we can overcome, and yet I hear over and over from the heroes of the left always about race and division and separating people over and over again. And perhaps that's why Jasmine Crockett lost, because even among some of the Democrats, that message just doesn't resonate.
But Ashley, I mean, you always win at the Michael Jordan lookalike contest, right?
Of course. Yeah, same gender.
What were you going to say, Ashley?
I said, of course, I'm the same gender, of course.
It just is so crazy to me, all this stuff. Anyway, sorry, folks, we're out of time, but I got another minute here for you. But, Luke, we go through all this stuff, and we see someone like Mark Kelly, Seditious Six, okay? He goes out and posts that he's supporting the Mexico team in the World Cup. It's like, bro, you're a U.S. senator.
it's not even picking a political side. It's voting against your country, going out and supporting another team in the World Cup. What sort of mentality do you have to have as an elected official, as an American, to say, I'm going to go and support another team on the world stage?
Yeah.
It really just kind of peels back the layers of the onion and shows you his true intentions and heart.
Ashley, but you're a sports ball person. I mean, could you imagine rooting for the other team that you were playing against?
And no, and specifically not as a U.S. senator. I mean, your constituents are the American people. They are American citizens. So tonight, I'll be rooting for Team USA along with every other American, unlike Mark Kelly, who's rooting for Mexico.
Yeah, and by the way, if America wins soccer, the rest of the world has to call it soccer forever until we lose that title, because I'm done with this football thing, all right? Not a thing. Luke, Ashley, pleasure as always.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, me and a few military buddies got together and talked about the Democrats embracing socialism and that massive slide of their party. You are not going to want to miss this. Voices of Valor series starts now.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new Care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at Care.com.
As an athlete, I think I just always understood sleep as part of the performance equation. It was physical recovery. Especially as a mom, I think sleep has taken on an entirely new meaning for me. It's mental recovery, it's sanity, it's how I show up not just for my daughter, but for my work, even myself. And I think I used to think sleep was something you pushed through, and now I really think of it as something you protect.
Sattva, unlock the superpower of restorative sleep.
My earwax buildup was frustrating. Then I tried new Lipo Earwax Cleanser. The revolutionary formula dissolves earwax 5 times faster than the leading brand and helps prevent future buildup. Feel the difference with new Lipo Earwax Cleanser.
Free yourself from prying eyes. Ask privately with Duck.ai. Visit Duck.ai to chat privately with ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs for free, all in one place. Duck.ai is from DuckDuckGo, where AI is private and optional.
Feeling winded and short of breath when you should be enjoying life? Your days are made for more than this. And if you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Don't let shortness of breath ruin your day. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency, so you can get back to doing the things you love. Boost Oxygen contains pure supplemental oxygen that is safe for daily use and comes in a portable, lightweight canister without a prescription.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen. Get Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money. Your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
All right, folks, I spend a lot of time at my farm. Sometimes my fellow veterans join me, and we figured why not stick some cameras around that? Because what could go wrong, right? I probably won't lose my job with a bunch of veterans having a few drinks talking about the old days. Well, anyway, you guys are not going to want to miss this. Check it out. So I'm watching all these people come out with like the new party slogan is socialism.
Carl Higbie, former Navy SEAL, evening host, Newsmax.
Democrat socialism. It's the new spin on the same stuff that doesn't work. I just like, where are we going with this?
Brother, it's not our parents' Democrat Party. It's not our grandparents' Democrat Party. Teddy Daniels, former U.S. Army infantry security consultant. And these people, like, I'm glad that they're finally coming out and just saying it. Because now it's like, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. And we're not hiding from it anymore. It's like the curtain's been pulled back.
Yeah. Part of the problem, though, is through that, though, is they're lying to the American people about what socialism is really about. Like, we're all former military, so we understand. One of the things that we do is we study military history, right? So we learn from the positive things of the past, but more importantly, we learn from the mistakes that we made as an organization.
Mark Morgan, veteran, United States Marine Corps, acting commissioner of CBP, special agent, FBI.
Well, look, from a late perspective, look at the history. Look at all the countries that fully embraced socialism. And what happened? Failed. Colossal failure. You know, so part of the thing, I hope that Republicans do a better job of stepping in and educating the American people about the truth behind socialism and not the lies that the Democratic Party are trying to push out.
Socialism is built on a principle, on an idealistic principle that we can create this utopia that everybody's equal, we all have equal work, we all have equal output.
Jason Redman, retired Navy SEAL, author, speaker, entrepreneur.
And unfortunately, humans don't work that way. No. And if we try and distribute this across society, and now we have a group that's trying to manage that, every single time throughout history, it has led to a corruption at the top, that these individuals hold the majority of the power, and these just get watered down to, I mean, it's a race to the bottom in socialism.
Venezuela.
New York City, perfect example. This got that Mamdani guy. He is like, we're going to take everything, we're going to make it public housing, all this stuff. Well, you go to the public housing they have, which is collectively owned, which is what they ultimately want. You can't get residents to change their own light bulb because they don't own it. They don't have an ownership stake. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, you want that everywhere?
Well, and the same thing, too, with the health care for all, the government health care.
Yeah, that worked out real well.
We've all been involved in the VA system. That's an example of government health care. And if they were actually involved in the VA system, now don't get me wrong, these folks do the best they can with what they got. And
some of them.
I'm grateful to have it.
Yeah.
Okay?
There are good eggs in that batch.
But I've had serious things that I've had to go outside of the VA network for because they are just not qualified to handle it.
Right.
And to force that on the American people is wrong.
Well, Teddy, to your point, I mean, we talked about this earlier about community, about, you know, the really beginning of our country, it was all about that government should not be there to solve all your problems. It's the community, your churches and et cetera, as we talked about. And I mean, socialism, again, what is it based on? Government.
That's right.
I mean, now we're going to rely more and more on government, and every red-blooded American, I truly believe, they know that the government is broke.
It's disincentivizing people to be successful. And this country was built on sacrifice and a hard work ethic. There's been no country in history that has become more successful over 250 years than the United States of America. And that was born out of a free market economy and capitalism. Individuals with the premise that, hey, if I'm willing to work hard and I'm willing to sacrifice, I can find a way. And it doesn't, here's the thing that we have to understand, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's a pursuit, not a guarantee.
Right.
And there's this idea, socialism is basically, we're going to guarantee you happiness. If we make everything equal across the board, it'll be this utopia. And it's not the case. We should be, what's dumbfounding and amazing to me, although individuals on the left aren't interviewing these people, our most die-hard citizens are naturalized citizens, many of them who came from communist and socialist countries. Why are they not supporting it? Why are they not like, we need socialism? Because they saw it firsthand and they lived it.
Ronald Reagan said it. What was it? The 10 most dangerous words uttered. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Amen.
He nailed it.
Right.
But the other thing, too, is I look at this and you have the socialism is being sold to a bunch of people who not can't, just won't achieve. And the person working as a barista with $200,000 in debt for a lesbian dance theory degree from an Ivy League school, like they they
Is
work
that a
at
real theory?
I think so. I mean, who knows with colleges now? It could be. But that person, sometimes people aren't worth minimum wage, which definitely means they're not worth equity in the same thing that I work 18 hours a day for.
That's right. That's right. I mean, along this, it's going to stifle innovation. It's going to stifle entrepreneurship. All those things that we know. And you're right. So somebody that, I remember I went to college because I enlisted in the Marine Corps before I went to college, and I went to college. I was different. Right? Because I already spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, so I had a different work ethic. Meanwhile, all the college students.
Not different. You had a work ethic.
Yeah, I had an A work ethic, right?
Exactly.
So you had a bunch of college students. I'm not. This isn't bad, but they're out partying. They're not going to class, and I was there and working hard, and that makes a difference. And so now, socialism is saying none of that matters.
That's right.
How hard you work, your accountability, none of that matters.
No problem.
That's not what this country is built on, Jason. Like you said.
No, it's not. Yes, socialism is the antithesis to the American dream. And I'm tired, and the left has jumped on this bandwagon, the American dream is dead. And that's such a lie. What's always fascinating to me is we always find the individuals who are going to speak and talk about what it supports. Hey, I was never able to be successful. I'm having to work hard. I haven't gotten there. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of problems in our country, but what they don't interview is the tens of millions of successful people from all walks of life, race, creed,
and
color,
what it took
gender,
to get there.
that have accomplished it, that have grinded and built a business and found success for their family. So instead of saying, hey, we should eliminate this and just go to this socialist route, which has never worked ever in history, why are we not reinvigorating the American dream? If the left is truly about the people, then why are we not looking at trying to bring this back and reinvigorating this? The idea of capitalism, the idea of getting people back. How do we help them to be successful? We need love. Yeah, we need to work on the tools. I think some of the problems are the social welfare systems that are out there. We're seeing it in the veteran community. We have so many veterans. That's right. It is a victim mentality. And we're looking, if the government provides you resources to take care of you, it's human nature, not everybody, but a lot of people, that's right. Hey, if I can live at the minimum level and it takes care of me, it's just human nature. We need to fight that and say, hey, wouldn't you rather be successful? Because we're going to give you programs to find that success.
All right, folks, we got a whole week of this stuff, by the way, and you know what tomorrow is. 2A Tuesday. We did the whole segment down at the gun range, talking all kinds of trash while we all made fun of each other if we, God forbid, missed a shot. But I think my couch was maxed out there with Teddy Daniels. He's about like 3 and change. I mean, he's a big boy. I would not want to be the Taliban when he's going after him. Folks, we've got a fantastic series this whole week, all week long. In the back half of the show, you're going to love it. We want to make sure that you tune into that. So please do. All right, before we go, someone check on Paul Pelosi, another driving infraction. Was he hammered again? It's just same thing. Pattern with this guy. New charges on him next.
Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
LeafGuard is celebrating America's 250th anniversary with their more than 1 million satisfied customers. And for good reason, LeafGuard has earned the Good Housekeeping seal for more than 20 years. LeafGuard is the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee and lifetime transferable warranty. And during our Celebrate America sale, receive 75% off installation of a complete LeafGuard system. Act now and get no interest and no payments till 2028. Call LeafGuard during this program and receive our Celebrate America bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with your LeafGuard purchase. It could come in handy this summer to use on your vacation, do a little shopping, or to even fill up your tank. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
I would rate LeafGuard a 10.
Having LeafGuard gutters in my house makes me feel really good.
My favorite part of LeafGuard is not watching my husband climb that ladder.
Who wants to spend their summer up on a ladder cleaning out clogged gutters? But leaving them clogged can be a fire hazard. Think about it. All it takes is one spark. With LeafGuard, the top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. That's why we say Leaf Guard, get it today, protect it for life. And during our Celebrate America sale, receive 75% off installation of a complete Leaf Guard system. Act now and get no interest and no payments till 2028. Call during this program and receive our Celebrate America bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with your Leaf Guard purchase. Use it the next time you go shopping or fill up your tank. Call 800-541-1274. Now let me give you that number again, 1-800-541-1274.
My dad has never been in better shape. He had a stroke and passed away. He had a life insurance policy. Ethos.com. In 10 minutes, you can be covered with life insurance.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dry premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Silly normal people, laws are only for us, not for the rich and famous. So maybe someone should just take the keys away from this guy, because Paul Pelosi, now under criminal investigation again, after a hit and run that he claims was an accident, but he kept driving until his car stopped working. Reports claim that a witness watched a brown convertible head north, strike an empty and legally parked car, tear into the rear, shove the one tire over the curb, then pause briefly before fleeing. Come on, bro. You're telling me that Paul Pelosi claimed he didn't realize this was going on? I mean, there were cars in Nagasaki that were better off than that. And let's not forget that this wasn't the first run-in with authorities. He pled guilty to a DUI crash a while back, crashing his Porsche in 2022. He also killed his 19-year-old brother in another car crash back in the 50s. And remember, the man who brutally attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer. We really never got the full details on that one, did we, Rob?
I don't know why he's still driving. The amount of money that they pulled out of Congress and with all that insider trading, I mean, wouldn't you think they have a chauffeur by now?
Yeah.
To be in the back of a Rolls Royce, without a care in the world.
Or whatever?
What is he still driving for?
Whatever.
Makes no sense. Good stuff, Carl. Good to see you.
America.
Happy 4th.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.